Dear students and my teacher friends, Namaskar. I welcome you to the presentation lecture on anatomy of the kidneys, learning objectives. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about internal gross anatomical features of kidneys. So, which are the structures or the components that are present inside the kidney that we are going to discuss in this lecture. Okay, starting with the first point. Okay, so this is the first point. See, there are two kidneys. That means there is one pair of kidneys. So pair kidneys are reddish. They are reddish in color, and the shape of the kidney, they are bean-shaped organ. So here, this is the urinary system is shown, and you observe the kidneys. Okay, this one is the left and this one is the right kidney. So two kidneys are there and they are reddish in color and bean shaped organ. Okay, and the location where in our body these kidneys are located. So kidneys are located just above the waist and between the peritoneum and the posterior wall of the abdomen. So here, this is the peritoneum. Okay, the peritoneum is cut. Okay, this is the entire peritoneum. So they have made a cut in peritoneum, and this one is the posterior abdominal wall. So between peritoneum and posterior abdominal wall, the kidneys are located in our body. Now, because their position is posterior to the peritoneum, they are present behind the peritoneum. Okay, and they are present in the abdominal cavity. That's why the kidneys, this organ these organs, kidneys, are also known as retroperitoneal. Okay, retro means behind the peritoneum. Okay, so this is the first point in which we have discussed about the color of the kidney, number of the kidney, shape of the kidney, then their location in our body, where they are located. This is the entire urinary system. Okay, now the second point. Okay, now see, there are two kidneys, okay, left and right, and they are located between the levels of last thoracic and third lumbar vertebra. See over here, vertebra L2. Okay, so this was L1. Okay, and this is last thoracic. Okay, and this is L3. Okay, so where exactly the kidneys are located? So they are present at the levels of last thoracic and third lumbar vertebra. And here, both the kidneys, they are partially protected by ribs 11 and 12. So see, this one is the rib 12, this is rib 11. So rib 12 and rib 11 partially protecting the kidneys in this figure also. Okay, see, L3, this is L2, L1, and this is the last thoracic. So you see the level of kidney where they are located, and this is the this one is the 12th rib, and this one is the 11th rib. So you can see that the 11th and 12th ribs, they are protecting the kidneys. Okay, now that's why, since the ribs are 11 and 12, they are protecting, and we know this 11 and 12 ribs, they are the lower ribs, and if these ribs are fractured, okay, due to any kind of accident, so this fracture in ribs, since they are present on the surface of the kidney, so if there is a fracture in rib, so this can puncture the kidneys. Okay, and this damage to the kidneys can be a fatal one, or it is the life threatening damage. The reason is, see, if the kidneys are punctured or if the kidneys are damaged, what happens? Kidney, we know a kidney removes waste material from our blood. Okay, urine formation takes place in the kidney. So if the since the kidney is very vital organ of our body, and if the kidneys are damaged, so it is the life threatening damage to the humans. Okay, so this is the second point. Now we are discussing the third point. Now in this figure also you see the pollution exit. Okay, and in this figure also you see the vertebrae, you see the ribs. Okay, and in this figure also you see the vertebrae and the ribs. Okay, now the third point. See, now the location of right kidney. See, in our body, right kidney is slightly lower than the left kidney. Let me show you this. For example, over here you see this one is the right kidney, okay, and this one is the left kidney. So right kidney is slightly lower than the left kidney. Okay, and why right kidney is lower than the left kidney? What is the reason? See, because the liver occupies considerable space on the right side. Okay, so the right side, the liver is present, and so to give the space to liver, the right kidney is slightly lower one. Okay, and where this liver is present, so liver is present, most of the part of the liver is present superior to the right kidney. Okay, so this is the third point, right kidney lower one than the left. Now the fourth point. Okay, now in the fourth point, now we are discussing the internal anatomy of the kidney. We are looking inside the kidney, which are the component or the structure that are present inside the kidneys. Now the frontal section through the kidney reveals, when we examine the cross section of the kidney, so we see that in the kidney two distinct regions are present. A superficial, that means the outer region, which is light red color. That outer region is known as the renal cortex. So here, renal cortex, okay, this part, okay, this part is the renal cortex, and cortex means rind or bark, and deep darker reddish brown inner region is known as renal medulla. Okay, so this one, this portion, okay, renal medulla. So here the name is written. For example, this part they are showing. Okay, this portion. This is the renal medulla. So this. Okay. Now the fifth point. Now what is there in renal medulla? What renal medulla is made up of? So the renal medulla consists of several cone-shaped renal pyramids. So here you see this is the renal medulla they are showing, and you see the cone shape. This one, for example, this one is renal pyramid. This one is renal pyramid. This one is renal pyramid. Okay, this one renal pyramid. So all cone shape renal pyramids are present in renal medulla. Okay. Now the base, of pyramid, base is the wider end of pyramid, and this wider end faces the renal cortex. For example, this is the base of pyramid, and as you can see it is the broader one, and it is facing the renal cortex. Okay, so this part is the renal cortex, and this the broader end of renal, okay, renal pyramid. So the base or the wider end of each pyramid faces the renal cortex. Okay, and the apex, which is the narrow end of pyramid, is called a renal papilla, and this renal papilla is present, it is pointing toward the renal hilum. So here you see this part. Okay, this is the narrow end of pyramid. Narrow end is known as narrow end, which is the apex or the top part, is known as renal papilla, and this renal papilla is pointing toward the renal hilum. So see the renal hilum, this region, this part is known as a renal hilum. Now what is the renal hilum? So here you can see the renal artery. Renal artery is entering into kidney, renal vein leaving kidney. Okay, then ureter also leaving the kidney, then nerves are entering, okay, into the kidney. So for kidney, renal hilum is the entry or exit point. It is acting like a gate, renal hilum. So this renal papilla is pointed toward, okay, it is oriented toward the renal hilum. So this is the sixth point of our discussion. Now we are discussing the seventh point. Now in the seventh point, See, we are discussing about the renal cortex. So here you can see the renal cortex, the name is written. Okay, so what is renal cortex? Renal cortex is the smooth texture area extending from the renal capsule to the bases of the renal pyramids. So here you can see this is the this part, for example, this is the renal capsule. Okay, then this part, this is the broad region of the pyramid. Okay, so this broad region is known as the base of the pyramid. So area in between the renal capsule and the base of pyramid, this portion, this part, okay, this part, all this part, okay, all this portion is known as renal cortex. And this renal cortex, it extends into spaces between them. So see, this is renal pyramid. Okay, this one is renal pyramid. So this area, this part, okay, which is extending between the this portion, for example, this part of this part is also cortex, because it is present between, it is extending between the pyramids. Okay, so renal cortex, where it is present? So it is present between renal capsule and the base of pyramid, and it is also present the area between the pyramid. Okay, so this is the seventh point of our discussion. And here in this figure, see, here they are showing the renal hilum. Renal hilum is shown, and as you can see, the renal artery is entering and a renal vein is leaving the kidney. So I am showing you this gross structure of kidney. Yeah. Okay, now we are discussing the eighth point. Okay, now the see renal cortex. Okay, once again, it is divided into, we can divide renal cortex into outer cortical zone and inner juxtamedullary zone. Okay, then so we are dividing renal cortex into two part. The outer region is known as cortical zone and inner region is juxtamedullary zone. And those portion of the renal cortex that extend between the renal pyramid are known as renal columns. So this is renal pyramid. Okay, this is renal pyramid. So this region, okay, this part, this portion between this region between the two pyramid is known as renal columns. Okay, so this is the eighth point. Now we are discussing the ninth point. Okay, okay, see, ninth point over here on the top. Now the together renal cortex and renal pyramid of the renal medulla, they constitute the parenchyma. Okay, so see, this portion, let's say this portion is the cortex. Okay, this is the renal cortex. This one is the renal pyramid. So together, renal cortex and renal pyramid, this entire portion is known as parenchyma, and this parenchyma is the functional portion of the kidney. Okay, functional portion, that means the urine formation takes place in this parenchyma. Now, what is there in the parenchyma? So, in the parenchyma, within the parenchyma are the functional units of the kidney are present. Okay, and this functional unit are known as nephrons. So, in the parenchyma, nephrons are present, and in each kidney, 1 million microscopic structures. So, nephrons are very minute, very tiny, very small, and their number is about 1 million in each kidney. Okay, so the nephrons are the urine forming units of the kidney. They are the functional unit of the kidney in which the urine is formed in the nephron. Now, the 10th point. See, uh, the filtrate formed by the nephron. Okay, so from the, see, in the, as I've told you that in the nephron the urine is formed, and the filtrate, what is filtrate? The components of the blood that ooze out, that comes out from the blood capillary and the arteries. Okay, that forms the filtrate. So we are going to discuss this filtrate in detail in the urine formation topics, but here that the components that come out from the blood and the waste material and some excessive ions, that is known as water also. Okay, so this is that material together, all this thing, they are known as filtrate. So this filtrate formed by, it is formed by nephron, and this nephron, they drain the filtrate into large papillary duct. Okay, so from nephron, where this filtrate is going, it is drained into papillary duct. Okay, so let's see this. See, okay, so here this is the entire nephron. Okay, and now the filtrate, where it is entering, so it is entering into the papillary duct. Okay, now this papillary duct, they extend through the renal papilla of the pyramid. Papillary duct, and this part, this portion is the renal papilla. Here the name is written renal papilla. This portion is the renal papilla. So papillary duct extend to this renal papilla. Now this papillary duct, which are extended towards the renal papilla, this papillary duct which are having the filtrate, now they are draining this filtrate into the cup like structure, and this cup like structure are known as minor and major calyx. Okay, or the calyces. Okay, see, cup like structure, pronouns calyx. Okay, so minor calyx, major calyx. So see, papillary duct draining first into, so the filtrate first drain into minor calyx, and then the filtrate enters into, it passes to the major calyx. And here we need to understand that even though it is over here only one nephron is shown, but we need to understand that here there are so many nephrons are there, and large in number they are present, and so this papillary duct they are also present large in number, and all this papillary duct they are extending toward the renal papilla, and finally they are draining the filtrate into minor calyx. So it is not that the minor calyx is receiving the filtrate from one papillary duct, but it is actually receiving, this minor calyx is receiving the filtrate from many papillary duct. Okay, and from minor calyx the filtrate now passes to the major calyx. Okay, so this was the 10th point. Okay, now see the numbers. Each kidney has 8 to 18 minor calyx and 2 to 3 major calyx are present in each kidney. Now the 11th point. See, as I have told you earlier that major calyx, okay, this here they are showing, this is the major calyx. So major calyx receives filtrate from minor calyx, okay, and minor calyx receives filtrate from papillary duct. So in reverse order we can say papillary duct drains filtrate into minor calyx, and minor calyx they open into, they drains or they pass the filtrate into major calyx. Okay, so this is the 11th point. Now the 12th point, here it is written. Now once the filtrate enters into calcisis, when the filtrate enters into minor and major calcis, this filtrate becomes urine. Now we are not telling it as filtrate, but now we are knowing it as urine. Now what is the reason why the filtrate is now known as urine in major and minor calyx? What is the reason? Because now in minor and major calyx no further reabsorption is occurring, reabsorption is not taking place. Okay, and why reabsorption is not taking place? What is the reason? The reason for this is that the simple epithelium of the nephron and the duct they become transitional epithelium in the calcisis. Okay, so simple epithelium they become the transitional epithelium, and this transitional epithelium they are not absorbing. Okay, they are not involved in reabsorption process. Okay, so that's why now the filtrate is known as urine in minor and major calyxes. Now what happens? From the major calcisis, urine is drained into single large cavity. So here as we can see, this is the major calyx, and this major calyx is draining the urine into large cavity known as renal pelvis. So here you can see major calyx. So from here urine passed to the larger cavity renal pelvis. Okay, now pel means basin. Okay, and from the renal pelvis the urine then pass through, urine enters into the ureter, then from ureter urine enters into urinary bladder. So here now the urine is entering into, from renal pelvis, urine enters into ureter, then from ureter it passes to urinary bladder. Okay, so when urinary bladder completely fills, okay, it is completely full with the urine, that time we urinate, and now urine passes through the urethra and we are removing the urine from our body, that is we are urinating that time, okay, when we are removing the urine. So this is the entire path, okay, of urine, where it is formed and how we are expelling out from our body. So this is the 12th point, okay. Now the 13th point we are discussing, see, hilum, okay. So as I have told you earlier, renal hilum is the entry or exit gate of kidney, or it is the door of the kidney. From there the renal artery entering, the nerves are entering, okay, vein is leaving, ureter is leaving, so that is renal hilum. Now the renal hilum expands into cavity within the kidney, and that in this expansion of renal hilum is known as renal sinus. So this part you can see, this is the renal hilum, okay, and this entire portion which is extending inside the kidney, this entire portion is known as, renal sinus, okay. Now in renal sinus, which are the components or the structures are present? So in renal sinus, see, renal pelvis, portion of the renal pelvis, some part of the renal pelvis is present, okay. Then the minor and major calcices are present. Then the branch of blood vessel, that means the arteries and veins, are also the part of renal sinus, and the nerves are also present in renal sinus. And all these structures, all this component, okay, renal pelvis, minor calyx, major calyx, artery, vein, capillary, nerves, all these components, they are supported by adipose tissue in the renal sinus, okay. So in the 13th point we have discussed about the renal sinus, and this is the figure, okay. So with this we have completed this lecture on internal anatomy of the kidneys. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and I also hope that this presentation lecture will be helpful in your exam preparation and also in your studies. My name is Manish Kochi sir. I am from Ahmedabad, India. Bye bye. Namaste.